you have a toothache. Maybe it started as a dull throb this morning, and by afternoon it's taken over your entire awareness. It doesn't matter what you were supposed to be doing today. It doesn't matter what was on your mind. There is only the tooth, and you know with absolute certainty that relief is available. A dentist, pain medication, an extraction if necessary. The situation is temporary, fixable, and within your control. Now place that same tooth, that same nerve, screaming in the same way, in a jaw that lived 50,000 years ago. No dentist, no ibuprofen, no clove oil from a pharmacy, no ice pack, no anything. Just the pain, which is not temporary, not easily fixable, and entirely outside your control. How bad could it get? Worse than you think. Dental abscesses, infections spreading from a damaged tooth into the surrounding tissue and bone, are potentially fatal without treatment. The infection can spread to the jaw, to the throat, to the brain. Before antibiotics, a bad tooth could kill you. And we know from the fossil record that it did. So what did early humans do? Not in the abstract, they probably just suffered through it. But specifically, practically, what did they actually try? What worked well enough to survive into every traditional medicine system ever documented? And what does the archaeological evidence tell us about how common dental pain was and how long it has been part of human experience? The answer takes us from the chemistry of pain to the oldest medical traditions on Earth. Let's get into it. First, let's establish something important. Tooth decay, the primary driver of toothaches, is not an ancient problem. It is, in evolutionary terms, a very recent one. And understanding why reveals something surprising about the relationship between diet, dental health, and the history of human suffering. Prehistoric hunter-gatherers eating a diet without refined sugars or processed grain flour had dramatically better teeth than people living after the agricultural revolution. Archaeological analysis of pre-agricultural human skulls consistently shows low rates of cavities. In some pre-agricultural populations, cavity rates approach zero. These were not people who brushed their teeth twice a day. They were people whose diet simply didn't feed the bacteria that cause tooth decay. Researcher Alan Cooper at the University of Adelaide and his colleagues published a landmark study in 2013 analyzing ancient dental plaque, calculus, across thousands of years of human history. Their findings were striking. The diversity of oral bacteria in ancient humans was far greater than in modern humans. After the agricultural revolution, and especially after industrialization, the oral microbiome shifted dramatically toward the specific bacteria species that produce the acid that causes cavities. We didn't just change what we eat, we changed what lives in our mouths. This means that the most severe dental pain, the kind caused by advanced decay reaching the nerve, was genuinely less common for most of human prehistory than it became after agriculture. Hunter-gatherer dental problems were more likely to be caused by wear, by abscesses from gum disease, by trauma, or by developmental issues rather than by the sugar-driven cavity epidemic that has plagued agriculturalists and industrial populations. But tooth pain still happened. Wear alone, from grinding fibrous food, from using teeth as tools, which archaeological evidence shows was common, from grit in stone-ground grain for agricultural populations, can expose nerve endings and cause significant pain. Gum disease causes pain and can lead to abscesses. Cracked teeth cause pain. Impacted wisdom teeth cause pain. And for all of these, early humans needed something to do. The first and most universal answer across human cultures is plants. Specifically, plants with analgesic or anesthetic properties that could be applied directly to or near the painful tooth. The most famous example is clove. Clove oil, derived from the dried flower buds of the clove tree, contains a compound called eugenol, one of the most potent natural dental anesthetics known. Eugenol works by blocking the sodium channels in the nerve endings that transmit pain signals. It is so effective that it remains in use in modern dentistry today, incorporated into dental cements and temporary fillings. and it has been used in dental pain management for thousands of years across multiple cultures independently. Traditional Chinese medicine documented clove use for toothache at least 2,000 years ago. Ayurvedic medicine in India did the same. Traditional medicine systems in parts of Africa and the Middle East, where cloves are available or have been traded for millennia, all document cloves' use for dental pain. The question is, how did humans figure this out in the first place? The answer is probably the same as with most plant medicine: gradual accumulation of empirical knowledge through observation, accident, and transmission. Someone in pain tried chewing cloves. The eugenol numbed the pain dramatically. The discovery was remembered. It was shared. And it spread through trade networks that carried cloves from their origin in the Maluku Islands of what is now Indonesia across the known world. But cloves weren't available everywhere, and the ingenuity of traditional dental pain management extends far beyond any single plant. Willow bark, whose salicylic acid content we've discussed in other contexts, reduces the inflammation that accompanies tooth pain, making it useful even if it doesn't numb the nerve directly. It was used for dental pain in traditional medicine systems across Eurasia. Garlic, which contains allicin, has both antimicrobial and mild analgesic properties. Placed directly on an aching tooth, garlic has been used in folk medicine across cultures from China to Europe to the Americas. Peppermint contains menthol, which creates a cooling sensation that temporarily overrides pain signals. Used in various traditional preparations for dental pain across many cultures. Plantain, the common weed, not the fruit, has anti-inflammatory properties and has been used in traditional medicine to reduce dental inflammation. It's found on every inhabited continent and has been independently identified as useful for this purpose in multiple unconnected cultures. Researcher Daniel Moorman at the University of Michigan, who built the most comprehensive database of Native American plant medicine ever assembled, documented dozens of plant species used specifically for toothache across different indigenous North American cultures. The number of independently identified analgesic plants is remarkable, and the underlying chemical logic is consistent. Plants produce defensive compounds that happen to interact with the human pain signaling system in ways that provide relief. Beyond plants, early humans used several other pain management strategies that modern research has confirmed have genuine physiological basis. Heat and cold. Applying warmth or cold to the affected area alters pain signal transmission. Cold reduces inflammation and temporarily numbs nerve endings. Heat increases blood flow and can reduce muscular tension around the painful area. Both have been used across cultures for dental pain, and both have measurable analgesic effects. Pressure. Biting down on something firm, or applying direct pressure to the gum tissue surrounding a painful tooth, can temporarily overwhelm pain signals through a mechanism modern neuroscience calls gate control, essentially competitive stimulation that partially blocks pain signals in the nervous system. This is the same principle behind rubbing an injury to make it hurt less. Distraction. This sounds trivial but has genuine neurobiological basis. Focused attention on something other than pain, physical exertion, social engagement, ritualized behavior activates top-down pain modulation systems in the brain that can significantly reduce perceived pain intensity. The rituals surrounding healing in traditional cultures were not merely symbolic. They were, in part, neurologically active pain management systems. And then, there's the evidence that early humans did something that genuinely surprises most people when they learn about it. They performed dental procedures. The oldest known dental intervention in the human fossil record dates to approximately 14,000 years ago, from a site in northern Italy called Ripley's Cave, more formally known as the Grotta Paglici. Researchers examining a tooth from this site found clear evidence of deliberate scraping of the interior of a cavity with a pointed tool. The scraping was systematic. It removed decayed tissue from the cavity walls. This was not accidental. This was a deliberate attempt to clean a decayed tooth. A 14,000-year-old dental procedure. But this is not the oldest. A 2017 study published in PLOS ONE examined teeth from a site in Slovenia dating to approximately 65,000 years ago, Neanderthal teeth, and found evidence of deliberate use of a small tool, likely a wooden toothpick, to manipulate the area around an abscessed tooth. The manipulation was consistent with attempts to relieve the pressure of the abscess or to clean the affected area. Neanderthals, it appears, were attempting dental interventions 65,000 years ago. And even more remarkably, a study published in the European Journal of Human Evolution in 2015 documented evidence from a 6,500-year-old jaw found in Slovenia, this time a modern human, of a filling. The cavity had been packed with beeswax, apparently in an attempt to seal and protect the exposed nerve. This is the oldest known dental filling, 6,500 years old. Beeswax. The beeswax finding is worth dwelling on for a moment, because it tells us something profound about what early humans understood about dental pain and its management. Packing a cavity with beeswax is not an instinctive behavior. It requires understanding that the cavity is the source of the pain. It requires understanding that covering the exposed area reduces pain. It requires access to beeswax, which means either maintaining bees or accessing honeybee colonies. And it requires the fine motor skill to pack the material into a small cavity. This is not desperation behavior. This is systematic, knowledgeable dental intervention based on an understanding of cause and effect. Whoever packed that tooth with beeswax 6,500 years ago knew what they were doing and why. Researcher Federico Bernardini at the International Center for Theoretical Sciences in Trieste, who led the study of the beeswax filling, noted that the application was post-mortem, meaning it may have been placed at or near the time of death as part of a funerary or ritual preparation. But this doesn't diminish the significance of the finding. It means beeswax dental filling was practiced and understood well enough to be applied in a ritual context, implying widespread knowledge of the technique in the living population. There's one more dimension of prehistoric dental pain management that deserves its own space. The extraction. Pulling a tooth, removing the source of the pain entirely, is in some ways the most direct solution available without modern medicine. And evidence that early humans performed tooth extractions exists, though interpreting it requires careful analysis. Archaeological teeth with intact roots that appear in sites without the associated skull are one line of evidence. Teeth don't naturally separate from skulls easily. The periodontal ligament that holds teeth in place is strong, and natural decomposition typically leaves teeth in situ. Loose teeth found separately are sometimes interpreted as having been deliberately removed. More direct evidence comes from ethnographic records of traditional dental extraction practices. Indigenous cultures on multiple continents have documented methods of tooth extraction using various tools and techniques, from specialized wooden implements to stone tools used as levers. The practice is not comfortable, but the knowledge that a bad enough tooth could be removed, that the pain had an endpoint even if that endpoint required its own ordeal, would have been significant. Modern dental research has confirmed what anyone who has suffered a severe toothache intuitively understands. Untreated dental pain is one of the most psychologically debilitating forms of chronic pain. It disrupts sleep, reduces cognitive function, impairs mood, and interferes with eating. For an early human hunter-gatherer, a severe chronic toothache was not just an inconvenience. It was a genuine survival liability. Any intervention that reduced pain, even temporarily, had real survival value. The people who figured out that cloves numbed the nerve, that willow bark reduced inflammation, that beeswax could seal a cavity, that a bad tooth could be removed, they were doing something genuinely important. They were addressing one of the most universal and debilitating forms of human suffering with the tools available to them. And they did it well enough that their knowledge survived in fragments in every traditional medicine system ever documented. The next time you sit in a dentist's chair and feel that local anesthetic taking effect, you are the beneficiary of 65,000 years of humans figuring out what to do when a tooth goes wrong. The tools are different. The chemistry is more precise. But the problem, and the fundamental human drive to solve it, is as old as pain itself. If this one made your own teeth feel a little more precious, you know what to do. I'll see you in the next one. There's something else worth examining closely before we move on: the social dimension of dental pain in early human groups. A person with a severe toothache is not functioning at full capacity. They're not sleeping well. They're not eating properly. Their mood is affected. Their cognitive performance is impaired. In a small group where everyone's contribution mattered, a member incapacitated by dental pain was a problem for the whole group, not just for themselves. This means that dental pain management was not purely a matter of individual suffering. It was a group concern. The knowledge of what to do, who to go to, what plants to seek out. This knowledge had collective value. The person in the group who knew how to manage dental pain was providing something genuinely useful to everyone, and that knowledge would have been shared, transmitted, and valued. Anthropologist Timothy Taylor at the University of Bradford has argued that dental care, including early forms of intervention, represents one of the earliest forms of specialized medical practice. Not just plant medicine applied casually, but specific, targeted intervention by someone who knew what they were doing, applied to someone who needed help. The earliest healer and the earliest dentist may have been the same person. This specialization has a broader implication. It suggests that even in very early human groups, there was recognition that some knowledge was specialized enough to require dedicated practitioners. The knowledge of which plants numbed dental pain, how to clean a cavity, how to extract a tooth. This is not general knowledge that everyone would know equally well. It requires specific experience, specific practice, and specific transmission. And the person who held this knowledge would have been valued. Not just useful, but specifically valuable as the person who could relieve one of the most intolerable forms of human suffering. The healer who could take away tooth pain was doing something extraordinary. Even if all they had was a handful of cloves and a knowledge of which end to apply. There's a final thread I want to pull on: the emotional relationship between humans and their teeth, which turns out to be ancient, universal, and genuinely interesting. Across virtually every culture ever documented, teeth occupy a unique position in human symbolism. Teeth are associated with power, with vitality, with youth and health. The loss of teeth is associated with aging, with weakness, with the approach of death. Tooth-related rituals, the tooth fairy in Western culture, tooth-throwing ceremonies in many traditional cultures, teeth as offerings at religious sites, exist across human populations with remarkable consistency. This is not coincidence. It reflects something deep and real about the relationship between dental health and overall well-being that early humans would have observed directly. When teeth were healthy, a person could eat, could communicate clearly, could maintain social interactions without the constant distraction of pain. When teeth began to fail, everything else followed. The mouth is the entry point for nutrition, for speech, for social signals of health and attractiveness. Its failure was genuinely consequential. The tooth fairy, or its equivalent in other cultures, may represent an attempt to make the loss of a tooth into something positive rather than something frightening. To transform the first experience of bodily loss that most children have, the loss of a tooth, into a transaction with a magical entity rather than an introduction to the fragility of the body. This impulse to make meaning out of dental loss, to ritualize it, to give it a narrative, may be ancient. We don't know when the first tooth fairy appeared, but the impulse behind it is as old as the first time a human understood that their body could fail them in ways they couldn't fully control. A tooth in the jaw of an early human was not just a tool for eating. It was a source of pain, of worry, of social significance, and of ritual meaning. It connected them to the same anxieties we have. And when it hurt, when that nerve began to scream the way nerves do, they reached for whatever they had. Plant. Pressure. Fire. Knowledge. The same reaching for relief that you would do, that you have done. Some things don't change. And there is one more thing I want to say. because I think it changes how you look at the people behind this evidence. The 14,000-year-old cavity scraping in northern Italy. The 65,000-year-old Neanderthal toothpick manipulation. The 6,500-year-old beeswax filling. These are not curiosities in a museum. They are moments of pain and the human response to pain. Someone sat with an aching tooth and did something about it. Someone helped them. Someone knew what to do. Every piece of evidence in the prehistoric dental record represents not just a technique or a discovery. It represents a person in pain and another person, or the same person, refusing to accept that pain as simply inevitable. The impulse to intervene, to try, to seek relief, to help someone who is suffering. This impulse is so old that it predates our species in its current form. When you consider that Neanderthals were using toothpicks to manipulate painful teeth 65,000 years ago, and that they went extinct, that their entire species is gone from the earth, and yet that impulse, that specific human response to dental pain, survived and transmitted, and is still here in every dentist's office, and every herb garden, and every grandmother who ever told someone to rub cloves on an aching tooth, there is something in that continuity that I find genuinely moving. We are not the first people to have a toothache. We are the most recent people to have a toothache. And everything that has been figured out about what to do about it, every clove and every willow and every beeswax filling and every careful scraping is part of a tradition so old that it connects us backward through time to people who are almost unimaginably distant from us in every way except this. They hurt, and they tried to make it better. That's worth knowing. And if this one made you grateful for your dentist, you know what to do. I'll see you in the next one.